Hi there, and welcome to Cosmic Soul Alignment, where we explore the mystical layers of who we are and the energies that shape our journey. Now, today we are joined by Lauren McLeish, a divine energy alchemist, multidimensional activator, and soul-remembrance catalyst, whose work bridges the realms of divinity and physicality. And in this episode, we'll be exploring the power and mystery of light language, the path of soul remembrance, what it really means to embrace our multidimensional nature, how we unify the spiritual and the human, and the gifts we each carry at the deepest level. So get ready for a conversation rooted in clarity, expansion, and the wisdom that lives far beyond the surface. Welcome to the show, Lauren.
Hello, thank you, Dawn.
You're welcome. Before we start, I asked you for a fun fact about yourself, and you said that you pick up on a person's star lineage simply by being in their presence. So when did you first discover you could do this?
Quite a few years back now, when I sort of really started delving into my own star lineage, and this sort of thing started coming up when I was working with other people. There was one particular day when I walked into a coffee shop that I went into every morning, and I was having a conversation with the barista who I would see regularly. And all of a sudden, I just kept hearing this voice in the back of my head screaming, like it was really loud, Andromedan, 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 over and over again. And I was like, okay, trying to hold the conversation. And whilst also, telling that voice, okay, I hear you loud and clear. And there was something about that just sparked, that ability to just pick up on, I suppose it's the frequency. It's to pick up, when being in someone's presence. And, I try not to, I don't walk around looking at people in that way.
No.
But, often when I am having a conversation with somebody, it will enter my awareness. If I made that inquiry, I would get that answer. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, our galactic lineage, our galactic family is fascinating. It's fascinating. Mm-hmm. Can I ask, what do you pick up from me?
So from you, I pick up a connection to Mintaka, and a connection to Orion. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting because I have an oracle deck. Can't remember the name of it. Work Your Light, I think it's called, by Rebecca Campbell. Mm-hmm. And I repeatedly pull the Mintakan card. So there you are.
Oh, there you go.
That's bizarre. Oh, wow. Yeah. What's to it again?
Yeah. Well, maybe it might make more sense now, or things might drop in for you around that connection.
Quite possibly. There you are. Okay. Before anything else, what led you into this line of work? Tell us about your defining moment, that awakening or the calling that opened the door for you.
Okay, I'll try and keep it fairly brief because it is a bit of a saga. But a few years back, I would say it was around 2019, which, you can't really, the timing of that was no coincidence. It's like everything happened to me and very abruptly and in an accelerated fashion, I suppose. Now looking back on it, getting me prepared for, a big change that took place on the planet in 2020. We all know that.
Yeah.
But leading up to that, I was a police officer for 10 years. And, I loved that job for a time. But after 10 years of service, I was diagnosed with PTSD, which is really common for emergency service workers. And, with that comes anxiety, depression, paranoia, all sorts of things, nightmares, you don't sleep properly, lots of different things. So I found myself out of that job. I found myself having to detach from that identity, I suppose, because when you're a cop, it's all consuming, really. It's a culture. It's your identity. You have to sort of hold yourself in a certain way all the time. So I had to, like I said, I found myself really trying to detach from that, but also to heal. and to move through everything that I needed to move through in order to move forward. And, I did the typical medication, psychs, counseling, all of that kind of thing. And it served its purpose, I suppose, but it never took me to a place where I felt,
Yeah, it's never going to heal you.
no,
It's
no,
just going
no.
to put the proverbial band-aid on it.
Yeah, I knew there had to be something more. So that's where the journey started. But then in another turn of events, I'd had two babies in that time of getting out of the police, had two babies in sort of 2 years, 2.5 years. And at that point, my partner was incarcerated. So I was left on my own with two babies, two under two, and in the state that I was in. So I lived like that and suffered like that for a little while until I had a moment of clarity, I suppose, where I've actually co-authored a book and contributed a chapter about this sort of initiation for me.
Yeah.
About this particular point where I found myself in my backyard on New Year's Eve, begging the universe basically, why am I here? What am I doing? What's my purpose? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? I can't keep living like this. I'm a mess. My life has crumbled. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I have no job. I just don't know who I am. And I was trying to hold the weight of everything on my own. And raised two babies. And it was that night, it was that particular night that something switched. It was that putting out that call to the universe. I don't know, just putting it out there with such conviction, that like, somebody tell me what I'm supposed to be doing. And from that, like from the days following that is when everything just started to crack open. Everything started to change. Things started to come into my awareness. Just ways, ideas, little snippets of things dropping in to show me sort of, little breadcrumbs to show me how to start to move forward. And with that, I followed that, and I went on that path of deep healing. And with that deep healing came deep remembrance. That's really what it was. It was getting up early, dedicating time to myself, devoting time to myself before my kids got up. I taught myself, to meditate. I would journal, all of those kind of things to reconnect with myself. And it was through that reconnection to myself that took place over a period of months that I was guided to Reiki. Actually, it came up in like a self-development book or something that I was reading. I don't even remember the book now, but the book spoke about Reiki, and I was like, I've never had Reiki, didn't even know what it was. So I found someone local, went and had a Reiki session, and it changed my life. Basically, it was so profound. The woman that did it for me is still a friend of mine. She's one of my Reiki masters. She was a mentor for a long time. And it was experiencing that energy healing that really sparked something within me. And I was like, I need to learn how to do this myself. There's something about this. And that's sort of where my energy healing journey really took off, was from that. So I went on and did Reiki 1 and Reiki 2, and then I went to Holy Fire Master level. And that's the story.
I think Reiki, I'm not surprised at all with what you said there, because I really firmly believe that Reiki is the catalyst for all healers. It happened to me as well. I went along and took a Reiki first degree. I didn't even know what it was. I just wanted to do something.
Yeah.
So somebody told me, oh, my neighbour's doing a first degree Reiki. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm in. I went along, didn't have a clue, didn't even research it or anything. And that, like you said, changed your life. It changed me as well. After that first day of attunements, these two attunements, that first day, I was a changed person. I just saw things so differently. So isn't it amazing?
It is. And I always say the same. I refer to it as like the gate. It's like the gateway. It's the gateway to your gifts. It's the gateway to higher levels of consciousness. I wish everybody was attuned to Reiki. It's there's something about that being attuned to those life force energies that opens up everything. I mean, I always knew that I was psychic, if you like, ever since I was a little girl. I would see and sense energies, but I was deeply terrified of it when I was little
Mm-hmm.
because I would try and voice it to my parents, but they didn't believe me. They dismissed me.
Yeah, it shut you down.
It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't real. I'd be in there going like every night. I was terrified of going to sleep because
Mm-hmm.
I could sense things in my bedroom around me. I could feel people sitting on my bed. I just, yeah. And that was always there. And throughout my life, there was parts in my teen years and stuff like that that I knew that those abilities were there and that I could feel the emotions of others. I could almost understand people without knowing too much about them. It never really made sense, but I knew that I could sense something beyond the physical.
Yes.
I think the fear of it just,
And of course,
you
back then, it wasn't something that was talked about, really. It's not something that was acknowledged, not at all. So, of
know,
course, you think, oh, there's something not quite right there, and try and, suppress it. I did exactly the same. But I
yeah.
want to go back a little bit when you had said that you ran out into your back garden, and you're on your knees and you're shouting at the universe, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? Would you have considered that moment the dark night of the soul, that on the precipice where the only way you can go is up?
Absolutely. I think even a large time period leading up to that was a dark night of the soul. I was in such darkness for
Yeah.
it felt like so long. It was just one thing after another, in my life. Like everything crumbled. My life completely shattered. Yeah, so that was like you said, that was that like I spoke about the chapter that I wrote in a co-authored book. It was an initiation. It was stepping through the threshold, and that's what that book is titled, is Threshold Stories of Initiation. And so that's like that night was the stepping through, the moving through that threshold
Yeah.
finally. But absolutely dark
On the
night of
way up. Yep,
yeah,
absolutely. And look at you now, absolutely thriving. Isn't that
yeah.
wonderful? And that's strange because most people look at these moments, these really dark moments, as a really horrible thing that they're a victim of. I think more of us now are understanding that that is the turning point in our lives. That is what has catapulted us into who we are now.
Yeah.
And they now look back on it and think, oh God, that was such an amazing opportunity. I'm really glad I went through that.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm a firm believer in that. I mean, there's always a lot of healing that has to come with it, and you don't want to sort of stay connected to the darkness of those points of our journey or of our story. But I believe that's where our wisdom really comes from. It's the things that we move through that alchemizes into the wisdom that we carry. That's why I have such a deep, my work is so deeply rooted in soul remembrance, is because that was my journey. It was like it was soul remembrance. It was like I walked for so long, kind of not even acknowledging that my soul was even there. But then there was that point that I crossed over that threshold, and there was a reconnection made, and the remembrance just it started from there, and it still continues now, obviously. But yeah.
Okay, amazing. Let's talk about light language then, because I know it's your favourite subject. I wonder why that is. Firstly, just for someone that's hearing about light language for the first time, because not everybody knows about it or has heard of it, how would you explain what it is and what it does?
Okay, light language, my great love. Light language is the language of the soul, is what the way I like to refer to it. And everybody, has a kind of a little bit of a different spin on how they would describe it. But essentially it's the language of the soul. It's language that is coded, if you like, coded with light. It is not understood by the human mind. It's received by the soul and understood by the soul. it bypasses the logical human mind. So when you hear somebody channeling or speaking light language, it's very like it's highly likely that you're not going to understand what they're saying, and that it just sounds like a whole bunch of tones or words or sounds, you know, that make no real sense. Some people will pick up on you know, on the energy or the frequency of what is being shared, but more generally you don't. Even I don't a lot of the time understand or like you know, word for word what I'm channeling. Because when you do channel, you sort of, you move into, you know, you move out of the human mind, and you're not understanding what it is really that you're bringing through. It's felt, it's deeply felt. So you will, you know, a lot of the times notice if you listen to someone speaking, channeling light language, you will feel it in your body. It can sometimes really bring on emotions that you're not expecting. I know I was getting my website created, like when I first started my business, my old website created, and the lady that was doing it for me, she listened to an activation that was going to be on my website, and she'd never heard light language before, and she said to me, "Oh my God, what was that?" I started bawling my eyes out, you know, and she said, I didn't know why, but it's just because it's felt. Yeah, it's felt.
And it helps release, and it's not egotistical, is it? You're talking about it bypasses a logical mind, so there's no ego involved at all. It's purely from the divine.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And you feel that. You feel it when you channel it, and you feel it when you receive it.
It's absolutely beautiful. It really is. Tell us about your first experience with light language when you realised you were talking it. What happened?
So I was exposed to light language as a child, just in a different way that I view it now. So my mum is very religious, and she used to speak in tongues, like that's the way she refers to it, you know, in the religious sense. So I grew up with her, like seeing that with her and my aunties, and my mum would pray over me and stuff if I was sick or that kind of thing. She just used to call it prayer, you know. So I was always exposed to it, and I was always intrigued by it. I loved it. I didn't really know what it was, but I loved it when she did it, you know. So I felt a connection to it later on, but I didn't feel a connection to the religious side of things. So I never really, you know, did anything with it. But later on in my teen years, and into my early 20s, I started sort of rediscovering it again, but as light language, rather than, you know, speaking in tongues or having a religious connection. And it started sort of sparking something in me again. And I was like, I want to do this. I know that I can speak this language, or I know that there's something that I feel very deeply connected to here. And it took years, and it wasn't until I started practicing Reiki on people, as we spoke about before, you know, that really opens up all your gifts and everything. It was very spontaneous. I was doing a session for a friend one day. This was in my very early days. I didn't charge people. I didn't have a business or anything. I was just in that practice mode for about 2 years before I started a business. But it was just spontaneously in a session. It just started coming out of my mouth. And because I knew what it was, and already had a love for light language, and would listen to it, and had this deep curiosity, and knew that someday I was going to do it, I knew what it was. So I didn't go through what a lot of people go through. I didn't question it. I didn't not trust it. I knew what it was, and I was just so excited that it had arrived, you know, that it had been activated.
Yeah.
I'd waited so many years for it
And
to.
it excited you, right? So you just knew it was right.
I
You
just
knew
knew,
it was
yeah,
right.
I knew what it was. So there's a few different types. You know, people express light language in different ways. It's not always spoken. It can be, excuse me, hand gestures, so as well, or it can also be written. You know, a lot of people draw and write light codes. It first started as as a vocal for me, and as time sort of progressed, my hands started moving. I remember I was driving along in the car one day. It was some time after that, like I'm going to say more than 12 months after that. I'm driving along in the car, and all of a sudden my hands just started moving out of
Mm-hmm.
nowhere. Um, yeah, and same with the written. I do the written codes as well. Not so
Mm-hmm.
often, but whenever I feel the need. But yeah, after that first initial activation, when it first moved through me and through my voice, in the 2 days following that, I had a sort of bizarre experience where I would go to bed at night and I would see different light codes floating around me and floating out of my hands.
Mm-hmm.
So almost like it was always when I was in bed. When I first went to sleep and when I would first start waking up in the morning, I would see it and feel it moving through me. And they were in gold, these little gold light codes. And that's where my business name comes from, Lauren's Codes of Gold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was, that was, like I said, a couple of days. I think that was just sort of a calibration process. And yeah, it flowed from there. As I practiced more and more and more with it, I began to sort of realize that I could connect to certain frequencies. I began to have a little bit of an understanding of what I was channeling through, the frequency of what it was that I was channeling through, or the energy around it. I learned that, you can use it in so many different ways. You just have to you can be very intentional with light language. You can set a clear intention and then channel for that, whether it's healing something in your body or something emotional. Yeah.
I've been sitting down and trying to bring the channeling through some of the light language, and what comes to me is like sounds, but also some little notes, singing notes that come through. And if anybody knows me, I could empty a bar at the end of the night. But these are little gentle notes in there. I just find it's really lovely, comforting. Do
Yeah.
you do you ever sing a little bit when you're
It can
channeling?
absolutely come through in song. Yeah, yeah. For me, it's not so often, but definitely it has been before, and a lot of people do. I feel like a lot of people through song bring through light language, even
Mm-hmm.
through dancing. I watch some people just doing like
The
fluid movement
movement.
and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and that to me, I'm like, that's their light language. They're bringing
Mm-hmm.
through frequency through that. So absolutely. And if you are playing around with, activating your light language, that's one way to really do it, is to just to sit and open yourself up and really let the tones come through. Even if it's the same tone over and over and over again, it's like building a sense of trust and really opening up your channel, because it can be quite bizarre. A lot of people have experiences where they don't know what it is, or they don't trust it. They think they're making it up. But if you just relax into it and let it move through you,
Just allow it to come. Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, get some squeaks as well, which is very, very interesting. But
Actually,
hey,
yeah, it's sound frequency. So, I mean,
yeah.
you should, all sorts of languages channel through me. Like, it's never always the same. It depends on the person that I'm, channeling for.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's very galactic. Like, it sounds literally like alien sounds. So squeaks is there's nothing weird about it. It can be anything and everything. But, I think it's important to also note, which I haven't said, is that it can't be taught. So light language is not something that's taught. It's something that's
Mhm.
remembered.
Yes,
It's a remembrance
it's
and,
in
and
your
an
soul.
activation. Yeah. Yeah. So there's no, oh yes, we can teach these tones and these things mean this, or that it doesn't work like that. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Over time, then, has your light language evolved? Any, have you got new tones or new rhythms that are coming in? Maybe even different transmissions as you're expanding yourself. Are you finding that they're changing and evolving?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I first started, it was, as I suppose that calibration process is taking place, it does sort of sound the same. And to me, I feel like, and this is just my opinion, I feel like that was possibly the language of my, of the aspect of me that was bringing that particular language through at the time. So it did sort of sound the same for a while, but as I kept practicing with it and really just working with different people and the different frequencies that people hold, being in channeling circles and all of that kind of thing, connecting with galactic energies, it just, it's just constantly evolving. And, almost daily I'll channel something and go, oh, I haven't done that before, or that, that was new.
That
I
was
don't know
new.
what that was. Yeah. But in saying that, a lot of them sound, when you start to, like, for instance, if I channel Pleiadian light language, that has a certain sound that sounds familiar to me. Then you've got, like, say, Lyran light language that also sounds has a certain sound about it that I can recognize it. Arcturian, I can definitely pick up when I start channeling straight away. I will know those familiar ones.
You know where it's coming from.
Yeah, I know where it's coming
Interesting.
from.
That is
Yeah.
interesting. How do you use it in your own life? I mean, do you use it for if you need clarity for something, or if you want to connect with something, or to get yourself in alignment? How do you use it?
I use it for all of the above.
All of the above.
I walk around speaking light language to myself a fair bit, and it's so funny when I just giggled when you said, do you use it for clarity? Yes, I'm one of those people who walk into a room and forget what I walked in there for, literally just bring in a bit of light language and, oh, there it is. I remember what I was doing. Or, and yeah,
I need to
obviously,
try that. I forget a lot of things.
it really works. Or if you're having a conversation and you forget what you were talking about, it just, just a little bit of light language and it's there.
It gives
That's
you
how
it back.
Yeah. I use it a lot when I'm, in the shower, that kind of thing, just to center myself, to bring myself some frequencies that I might be needing. Or, like I said, you can use it really intentionally, if I've got something going on in my life that I need peace around or that I need clarity around, I'll set an intention and channel. Yeah. It's really powerful. It's really, you can use it it's my favorite. It's my favorite energetic tool. Yeah.
I will use that a lot more often now. You're giving me inspiration here, so keep going, keep going. This is great.
Yourself. Just do it to yourself.
I
I do
know.
it in the car when I'm on my own. My kids.
It's like, who's listening? Who's listening?
Oh, my kids laugh at me because sometimes I'll wander around and blah 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 blah, and they'll be like, "Oh, Mom's doing light language again."
Oh, here she goes again.
Yeah,
I know.
but if even actually they ask me for it if they're unwell or if they can't get to sleep or
Oh,
something like
that's
that,
nice.
yeah, they will say, "Mum, can you do some light language with us?" So I'll.
Yeah, because it soothes their soul, doesn't it? And they know it. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's great. What a blessing. All right. Myths and misunderstanding. What are some of the misunderstandings or the myths about light language that you love to clear up?
One is what I've already mentioned, is that it cannot be taught. It is something that is remembered. It is something that is activated. And yes, I know people that, do work with people to activate their light language in whatever method that they use. But yeah, it's definitely not something that anybody can teach you. It comes from within. It comes from your soul. Another myth, I suppose when I first started sharing light language, which was a couple of years ago now, and from what I saw, there wasn't as many people as there is now, say on Instagram, for example, that's the platform that I use, that are sharing it. Like there's so much of it now, which I think is amazing. Everybody's really open about it. And, but back a few years ago, when I started sharing it, I copped a lot of judgment from people.
Flack.
The people that didn't understand what it was and said that I was just channeling, nothing. I was making it up. Yeah, that it made no sense, and they really sort of ridiculed me. Yeah, so I suppose that's, and I still see it every now and then, not towards me. I don't know, done enough inner work to repel that, if you
Yeah.
like, repel those kind of people from coming into my field. And I think it was part of my initiation process. I suppose it was a really big thing
Yeah.
to get online and
It
share
gives you
that.
another awareness, doesn't it? Because
Yeah,
now you understand that those that don't understand attack.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
because they don't know anything about it, so they think it's nonsense. Yeah, and I think we've all had
yeah, yeah,
backlash, if you like, that. But good
yeah.
for you for keeping going. And I have been noticing that these type of accounts are coming into my feed, which is
Yes,
which is nice. Just recently, so I'm taking this as a wee sign just to keep going with it.
definitely. Yeah,
Would you do an activation for us?
sure. Yeah, I would love to.
Okay.
Okay, so just before I start, I always like to preface that I honor everybody's sovereignty, and this can be activating, like quite activating. So if you are listening and you are not comfortable with receiving this activation, then you might want to turn the volume down, or I never want to blast anybody with anything that they don't want to receive. So the word that is coming into my awareness of what I'm picking up on that wants to come through and be shared for the collective is reverence. So I feel like it's the frequency of reverence that wants to be shared in this space right now. Mboshtata karahi alokoto kora harahia lahunda karahi ashtokolo kuma tiatoto kolo koro koro umara hia nakoto kora lahushna na hiakoto koro kora harahia natokolo ma niato kora borra stokuma kraihi atulu kututututu naharayala mora yando koto 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 koro hushta tatata karahia. It's reverence for yourself, reverence for your body, reverence for your journey. Ndahako kokoro hushtata hialo kotokoro hushna nianolo kotokutora hianana. Nahakarahi. Nahura harai antukokoro hushtutukoro huru hushalana I antata. And it feels like it's just speaking straight to the heart. Nihatukora. Nalokutotuish niana na kutukutu uro ushtatata I atukuro uro. Halakutukura nahi. Nahi anunu ulu mbakarahi anta. Takushta ni anda nalukuro ushna ni anukutukoi.
That was beautiful. And I was goosebumps all over. And my logical mind is saying, this doesn't make sense. But my body's saying, yes, it does. Yes, it does. Even though I don't know what was said, the
Yeah.
body likes it. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't even really know what was being said either, because like I said, it's frequency, it's felt. I did feel a connection to like inner earth. I went to Mount Shasta last year, and I was part of a channel panel there, and we did a lot of work with the Lemurians, which are very much connected to Mount Shasta, and inner earth, and the ascended masters, the Great White Brotherhood. That's what that felt like. There was a real connection to that. It was coming from deep down, sort of, inner earth, a kind of a masculine energy, I suppose, of a really supportive sort of masculine energy coming through.
It would have been incredible. Yeah. Thank you, Lauren. That was lovely. Okay, so sorry about that. We had a little bit of an issue there. My electricity went completely off. So we've had to abandon that and come back at another time. So apologies for that. But Lauren, that's not going to stop us. I was about to ask you about soul remembrance, you know. So I want to ask about how soul remembrance actually serves your expansion.
Okay, yeah. For me, all of the work that I do is deeply rooted in soul remembrance. Soul remembrance, it feels like that's just the foundations of what I do, and even of my personal journey, I suppose. I just think there's so much power in it. You know, when we reach that point where that soul remembrance, that deep soul remembrance, is really ignited in some ways, and for me, it happened, you know, quite, it was an experience. There's so much power in it. And I think essentially soul remembrance is just really remembering more of who we truly are, remembering more that we are so much more than just this flesh suit, this physical being, you know, that we are a soul here having a human experience. And I think when we really open ourselves up to soul remembrance, when we really connect with our soul and who we truly are and what we're truly made of and what we're truly capable of, it just expands our awareness. It expands our consciousness. It expands our perspectives. It just expands us in so many ways. It's like the blinkers come off and you just see things differently. You see yourself differently. You see reality differently. You see yourself as the divine being that you really are. And you see the world around you, you know, in a different way, and how you move through the world and how you interact with the world. You see yourself as connected to oneness, to all that is, to God, source, however you want to put it, the universe. And I just, it's like when I hear the word soul remembrance, I see that. It's like you know, I think of myself and my own journey before I stepped into soul remembrance or went through an experience that really ignited that for me. It felt like I was just almost walking through a tunnel. When I look back at that time now, which was my life up until my early 30s, really, you just think this is it. I'm Lauren. This is me. I'm walking through life. This is what I do. You know, I get up, I go to work, I do my job, I look after my kids, I do whatever I do on the weekends, or, you know, and it's like walking with tunnel vision and not even recognizing what, you know, that our soul is actually there and that we can connect with our soul and our soul speaks to us and our soul guides us, you know. And for me, there was a particular experience that kind of blew everything open for me. So when I went through what I would call, you know, sort of an awakening, if you like, in 2019, which we've already touched on earlier, I was guided to open up YouTube one morning when I just put the question out there, you know, what am I here for? What do I need to see today? Like, what do I need to know right now? I opened up YouTube and saw you are a Pleiadian starseed. And for me, are you a Pleiadian starseed? Sorry, it said. Had never heard of the word Pleiades, had never heard of the word starseed before, didn't know what either of them meant, but immediately it brought on a physical experience for me. I cried, I felt it. I felt something really deep within, you know, and that really was the start of it opening something up for me to kind of realize, oh my gosh, my soul is connected to so much more than I've ever even contemplated before, you know. And it just sort of rolled from there, you know. Once your eyes open and you have that remembrance is activated or ignited, there's no going back. It just keeps going, doesn't it? Once your awareness
Absolutely.
expands, you
Total
open yourself
perception.
up. Yeah, to so much more. And I just think, you know, soul remembrance, it's a pretty broad, like there's a lot of things that come under that umbrella. It's a pretty broad topic, but soul remembrance, we can look at past lives or parallel lives, cosmic, galactic soul connections or our star lineage, all of that kind of thing. That is all a part of it as well. That's where we get to, when we delve into those things, we learn so much more about ourselves. We learn so much more about the wisdom that we hold because of our soul's journey so far. We learn more, or we're able to clear, traumas, beliefs, conditioning, all of that kind of thing. So the way it's, soul remembrance serves your expansion in so many ways. Not only that it does expand your perceptions and your consciousness and your awareness, but it allows you to do those things as well, to tap into that, wisdom that the soul holds when you uncover those memories, or clear, the past life or parallel life trauma, whatever it is. There's so much more to learn and remember about ourselves.
Okay, so all of that being said, and I agree with absolutely everything. So all of the above, why do you think then that this awakening for us doesn't happen a lot earlier in life?
Well, I think there might be a couple of reasons for that. And, this is just my personal perspective and my personal truth. I think that possibly we need to walk through things or move through things or have the human experiences prior to that, if you know what I mean, leading up to that particular point, because there is things that we need to experience in our humanness that are often the catalysts, I think, for those awakenings or for that expansion to take place. Also, again, this is just my personal opinion. I think that there comes a certain point in our personal journeys where we are ready, or we possibly have even contracted ourselves or agreed to something at some level, that it is part of our soul's mission, and we need to go through that awakening at a particular point in our journey, because that's when our expansion is needed. That's when our awakening is needed. That's when, this wisdom, this light, really switches on within us. And I think it's such a personal journey. It's so personal for everyone. And I know that with me, like as a light worker, and I know not everybody does the same kind of work that we do, energy healing and all of this kind of thing. But when this happened with me, it was 2019. And I think I already touched on earlier in this interview that it was almost like I was prepared and it had to happen then at that point, because the world was about to change. My world was about to change too, as we moved into 2020. It was like everybody knows that things changed at that point in time. It was like, okay, it's go time. If your soul has a particular mission here, it's like, all right, this is the time when you need to start remembering what your soul came here to do in this part of your journey, this chapter of your journey. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, totally. And like you said, it's remembering. It's not a learning thing. It's not something we have to learn. We just have to be able to remember, because we have all these abilities, we have these skills. We just need to remember how to use them.
Absolutely.
And like you said, when you threw yourself on your knees in the garden, that was your time, because you were at a very, very low point. And at that time, boom, it's just switched on.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the time for me. And I think a lot of people could probably relate that, something life-changing happens. Not everybody will experience the same thing, but I think it's fairly common for a lot of light workers, for example, that something happens, something big in your life happens, that really sort of kicks things off.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think we've all got to go through that. I think that's the catalyst for the change.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally agree
Yeah.
with it.
I mean, I know there was many things for me that happened before, like I was saying, that maybe we do have to experience certain things at a human level, just walk through that human experience before the actual, a big remembrance takes place, or an awakening or
Yeah.
expansion, whatever you want to call it. I think there's, like, I look at my personal journey and the things that I went through leading up to that point, like over my life up until then. I think there's wisdom gained. Do you know what I mean? I think there's
Yes.
new wisdom gained, if you like,
Hmm.
that maybe it's like, okay, this lifetime, you gotta go through all these things first before you start remembering the wisdom that's already there, that you
Yeah.
already hold. You got to go through these experiences first to get you ready, because you need to, this is all part of it.
And there's also, when you mentioned there, the soul contract that comes into play, we agree to all this
Yeah.
before we reincarnate here. And sometimes you think, what on earth was I thinking? What is going on in my head?
Yeah, yeah. Everybody talks about Earth as a school, don't they? And
Yeah, sure is.
it's just yeah. There's much expansion to be gained here.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, sometimes experience on this physical planet, gets laid on a bit thick, but
It
we've got
does.
to learn. So we're just doing it as best we can. That's all we
Yeah,
can do, isn't it?
that's it. Yeah, and when you're a sensitive soul and you feel things a lot and you feel the collective energies, and
Yeah, it's
yeah,
hard.
it feels dense. It feels it
Yeah,
feels heavy at times. Yeah.
yeah, it certainly does. Okay, let's touch on multidimensionality. Put my teeth back in this morning. What does it mean to embrace our multidimensionality then, and why do you believe it's essential for our expansion?
Well, this kind of ties into what we just spoke about, I suppose. Coming to that real understanding and acceptance and acknowledgement that we are so much more than just the human. That we have, that we are divine in nature, that our soul is connected to all that is, firstly, and that our soul has walked through many, many, many experiences in different dimensions, different realities, different star systems, if you like. There's so much power in that, because when you stop and think about it, and you think, okay, my soul holds so much wisdom. It's not just this incarnation. It's not just Lauren here now and what I've learned in this lifetime. That's not the only wisdom that I carry. My soul, it comes from, it's been here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
And we don't know, like, how many eons old our souls are. Are there? It just, the human mind can't even
Yeah, it can't
grasp.
comprehend it. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And I just think there is so much power in embracing your multidimensionality in everyday life. Um, there are parts of us that carry the wisdom, that are ready and able to deal with situations, to make decisions, to do the speech, to give the
Yeah.
talk, to give advice to somebody, to have the hard conversation, to do the job interview. Do you know what I mean? To talk to the
Yeah.
child from a certain place. And I find myself doing it often, and I even did it before this interview, and I do it before every client session. I tune into my multidimensional nature and I call forward the highest available aspect of myself to provide the answers that you ask me. Or, before I do a client session, call forward the highest available aspect of myself to facilitate this session for this client. Or, yeah, it's so powerful, not just in a spiritual sense, but in a human sense as well.
And do you think then that, because I mean, there's all these different aspects of our soul on all these different lifetimes over all these dimensions,
Mm.
do you think then that our dreams could be a sneak peek at and remembrance of any of those lifetimes?
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
people, that's the way they see, like the seers. That's how a lot of things started for me personally too,
Yeah.
with what I was seeing in my dreams before I actually made sense of, oh, okay, yeah, there's something in that. I think when we go to sleep, when we're dreaming, we are visiting different
Yes.
timelines. I think it's heavily connected to timelines. We're experiencing other timelines that maybe we're not actually going to play out here in our physical awareness. Yeah, so absolutely, I think our dreams are connected to our multidimensionality, and that we are of traveling astrally.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Even just, I'm quite bored here. Let's go and have some fun. Where are we going to go tonight? Just, you could end up anywhere, couldn't you?
that's it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And my dreams are off the charts, absolutely
yeah.
off the charts. They're just crazy. So I just wanted to wanted your take on that. So that's good. Okay. Last question. Soul gifts. So your mission includes activating people's soul gifts. What do you wish that everyone understood about their innate abilities, and how can they begin embodying them more deeply?
Well, firstly, I wish that everybody realized and acknowledged and embraced the fact that we all have soul gifts. We all do. We all have a soul. We all are divine in nature. There's nothing that sets us apart as individuals other than the way we are here to express our soul gifts, I suppose. I understand and I truly believe that we all have very unique gifts. Yes, we may put ourselves under the same umbrella, I'm a psychic or I'm an energy healer or whatever it is, but we all have our own way of expressing that and sharing our codes, sharing our medicine, sharing our wisdom, sharing our light with each other. And I just think, if you're intentional about it, if you have the mindset of, I want to work with my soul gifts, I want to know what they are, then they come into your awareness.
Yeah.
Obviously, doing the energy work and a bit of self exploration and soul exploration and all of that comes with it, as you would know. And that's part of the work that
Yep.
I do, is when you're uncovering and looking at, say, past lives or cosmic lifetimes or that kind of thing. That's what activates, like, and awakens that wisdom within. And it's like you remember, so something switches on
Yeah.
and you remember.
What is it they say? Ask and ye shall receive.
Yes.
That's how mine
Yes.
kicked off very early in my childhood. I asked questions and I got the answers. It might have
Yes.
terrified me, but I got the answers. Lauren, great conversation. We're all out of time. So
Thank you, Jen.
thank you, thanks so much, for sharing your gifts and your insight with us today. And thank you to everyone who joined us. Cosmic Soul Alignment exists to spark remembrance and expand awareness and reconnect us with the truth of who we really are. So stay curious, stay open, and keep aligning with the wisdom of your soul. So take care, and I'll see you next week. Thank you so much, Lauren. You take care.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.